Okay, so I see the day. I know things are going on in the world right now. I saw the thing about the what's going on in Iran and what may or may not be happening to a Ayatollah Khomeini, who I have talked about previously on stream before. But it's too early to make any kind of real commentary about anything, so I am going to refrain from doing so. I also want to react to one of Keen's videos about the leaflet situation, probably episode 2. But considering how heated I got, not because someone was criticizing leaflet, but because of the disingenuous way she was criticized. Yes, there are real criticisms you can make of leaflet, but that video was, I've still maintained, completely fucking disingenuous. No, not Keen's video, but Harmful Opinions video. Let's be clear. So I will probably react to other people's reactions of the other two videos because I have seen all three videos. But that being said, I don't want to lose my mind today. So instead, I am going to do something that, again, I had promised to do a while ago, and this is going to take me a while. So this is going to be a two birds, one stone situation, right? Because I had promised to react to one video from every Skybro who appeared alongside me in the Cry Bros video, which is going to be a while. Which is going to be a while, right? I got a really funny one for what the hell is his nickname? Simplectual, I think it was. Like, but oh my god. So yeah, right now I'm going to react to the videos or the music that they've been generating because I actually don't know much about their music. Now this one I know is a bop. I've actually listened to this in the car, but I didn't get the chance to look at the music. So, well, not the music, but the lyrics themselves. So, oh shit. Okay, never mind. To hell with the closed captionings. So. We're going to go with the Ballad of Jack the Deathless, a sea shanty epic. Now, I myself am not exactly a stranger to creating story epics. I have if you're on my channel and you've seen the Chaos Kampfer, yeah, it is a musical epic about a lineage of heroic men fighting to keep order in a world that's degrading into chaos. So, there's that. So let's get through this. Again, as always, I'm going to try to play this song twice. That way I can see if I miss anything. But my ability to analyze something on the first pass is not as good as my ability to analyze something in retrospect. Anything that someone has seen my analysis of Darling in the Franxx will be very well aware of. And also, this is a new setup for my audio. Hopefully, this is better than what I was using beforehand. I know I'm probably still going to have to fiddle with some stuff because I think YouTube is going to throttle my audio again as it does anyway. So, a work in progress, right? Before we continue. Ah, yeah, fair enough, right? That seems like that got caught really good. Okay, so let us begin. Let's turn this all the way up.
Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain.
I like this little loop he has playing on here, to be perfectly honest. All right, so that sounds like, okay, yeah, so this is the fullness of the chorus. So, heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. So, basically, struggle on, struggler, right? For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Yeah, because a life of virtue, which I'm guessing is the case here, is a life of continually choosing the good. And that's It becomes easier over time as you develop the character. Now, I'm not the perfect person. I have severe flaws. I'm not exactly going to sit here and preach perfection because I've said beforehand, perfection is the enemy of the good. You're never going to be perfect. So, yeah, carry yourself with some humility. But yeah, the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. The journey of cultivating the self is a journey that never ends in life. It's a thing that you will continue to do until the day you die. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain. Yeah, again, this goes on to what I said earlier with the first line, struggle on, struggler. You know, if anyone's read Berserk, they know that line, right? It's kind of like the Skull Knight, the immortal who is tasked with a unending mission that never seems to have a completion point. So let's see.
He sailed when Rome still ruled the waves and Carthage burned to ash. Cut down tyrants by the score, left empires in the crash. No blade could keep him under, no grave could hold him long. He rose with every sunrise, still singing the same old song.
Okay, so I think that's the end of the verse. Okay, so he sailed when Rome still ruled the waves and Carthage burned to ash. So this is a long fucking time ago, right? We're talking a lifespan measured in millennia. Cut down tyrants by the score, left empires in the crash. So, again, the overthrow of tyrants does oftentimes have negative downstream consequences, even if a tyrant deserves to be overthrown. And yeah, so left empires in the crash, as in, like, yeah, that was somewhat disastrous. No blade could keep him under, no grave could hold him long. So that's interesting. So obviously the blade like keep him under refers to death, and we're talking about a deathless hero, right? No grave could hold him long. So it sounds like it's not that he can't die, but that he can't stay dead. So in a sense, the sea is haunted by him as much as it is that he will that he cannot taste the finality of his end, right? So he rose with every sunrise, still singing the same old song. So there's a monotony in the immortal life, but yet again, every sunrise in a lifetime of 1,000 years comes whether you want to or not. Okay. Never bend.
For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried a righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain.
So I do believe, yeah, this is a repeat of the chorus, but now with the context of this is a man who, again, cannot die, but he still walks the righteous path, right? Again, struggle on, struggler. Like, you have to walk a very thin line, especially in the case of if you're immortal, because virtues are ultimately habits, and so are vices. So if you cultivate good habits, then you cultivate virtue, but if you cultivate bad habits, you cultivate vice. And the issue with, again, the road never seems to end, is that the longer life carries on, the more tedious it can seem to be to keep up these habits, right? The question being, is like, again, is like, if you have all the time in the world, right? If you have all the time in the world, then why not use it, right? It's a very good way to develop a vice, and a vice for an immortal would be absolutely disastrous. Because you think about how vices like compound interest over time, right? And then you think about like how virtues can carry significant weight as you like bear their burden, and then think about how that magnifies over thousands of years, right? Okay.
1,000 widows blessed his name, 1,000 orphans too. He stood alone on burning decks when every soul withdrew. Gave his back to cannon mouths so children might breathe free. Took the wounds that should have killed 100 men like me.
Okay, so again, as we talked about with the whole tyrants section right here, this is very clearly a heroic figure. 1,000 widows blessed his name, 1,000 orphans too. So yes, while there are widows and orphans left in this man's wake, right? It doesn't sound like he is the one who causes the widow or the woman to become the wife to become a widow, or the child to become an orphan. If anything, it sounds like this is a man who honors the people who die beside him, and so therefore is honored, by the people who are left behind. Let's see. He stood alone on burning decks when every soul withdrew. So yeah, it's like he's deathless. He can't die, so he takes the fight that no one else can, right? So every soul withdraws because everyone else is mortal. So he stands alone while the world burns around him. Gave his back to cannon mouths so children might breathe free. Interesting. Again, taking the hit that others can't take so that others don't have to bear, so bearing that burden, which is impossible for others to carry, so that they can be unburdened by, said hardships, said tragedy, right? Again, so this is a hero who sacrifices himself for the good of others. But the question is, does he benefit in any way from this self-sacrifice? Or is this an act of altruism? Which, if anyone has seen my videos before, might know I don't have a very high opinion of, so let's see. Took the wounds that should have killed 100 men like me. Again, as I said earlier, this goes back to the gave his back to cannon mouths so children might breathe free. This here is him defending the innocents, and here is him defending the defenders who have families to go, home to. So that's why he takes the wounds that would have killed men, like us who are mortal. Okay.
He fought at Trafalgar's thunder in the ice of northern straits, broke the chains in slaver ports, left tyrants to their fates. Every oath he ever swore he kept until the grave, yet every friend he ever loved went down beneath the wave.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure that was, that was the end of the verse. Oh my god. Woo! Let's see. He fought at Trafalgar's thunder in the ice of northern straits. So this is, if I'm remembering my history correctly, this is a British battle between the British and the French. I don't remember. Hold on, let me check what year this actually happened. Here we go. Says 1805 on the 21st of October. Let's see. The British lost seems to be 450 killed, 1,208 wounded. The French and Spanish lost 4,395 killed, 2,541 wounded, around 7,000 to 8,000 captured. So, excuse me. So yeah, this gives a solid, much like Rome and Carthage, this gives a solid timeline for the length of this man's lifespan. Broke the chains in slaver ports, left tyrants to their fates. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the Battle of Trafalgar, if I remember correctly, was part of the British campaign to... No, hold on. I think it was actually I think it was Napoleon, actually. Never mind. Apparently, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so where was I? So if it's the Battle of Trafalgar, and it was the attempt of Napoleon to gain power over the British, then again, this ties into the he fights the tyrants for the sake of, so his role as a freedom fighter, right? And again, the whole idea that like he defends the innocent goes with the slave reports thing, broke it, the chains in the slave reports. Every oath he ever swore, he kept into the grave, which is interesting because the only grave that he could keep if he's deathless, like he cannot die, because as we've established earlier, the grave cannot hold him, or at least until he gives his life and then he comes back to life and the oath never keeps, because it's till death, until I die. Well, if you die and then you come back, you've technically completed the oath. But again, this is a person who keeps his word of integrity. Yet every friend he ever loved went down beneath the wave. Again, because he can't die, but no one, just because he's immortal doesn't mean that his friends are, obviously, right? So I'm going to guess that this refers to either sinking on the ship or possibly a burial at sea, because that would be them beneath the waves. So his friends tend to die at sea, it seems. So this is probably more of like a feel thing than like actually what happens in the lore. You live by the sword, you die by the sword kind of deal. You live by the Navy, you die by the Navy, right? But still, burial at sea is usually considered a, sign of honor, if I remember correctly. I was never in the Navy, so don't take me too serious on that one.
Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. The right road's grown so heavy, and there's nothing left to mend.
You know what? It got to where I was talking about. The right road is hard enough for a mortal. How much more to someone who lives forever, right? Like, we think of like a human lifespan of like 100 years, right? Or up to like 120 years, if you believe some super centurion claims, which a lot of them are fake. It seems like a long time to us, but it's not really. It is a blink of an eye in the span of like human history. A human life in the span of like the history of civilization, 5,000 years is not that long. Human beings have been around for. Let's see. Homo erectus seems to have popped up on the stage around 1.9 million years. And as someone who is a hard one speciesist, minority position in anthropology, I know, but still an existing position, that would mean that the human race has existed for 1.9 million years, and we've only had, civilization for like 5,000 years. Hell, the Native Americans seem to have only gotten to the Americas like 20,000 years ago, when around the time the short-faced bear decided to, nope out of existence, which is probably why no one colonized the Americas until that point, to be perfectly honest. So you could imagine how, again, having to make the same choice over and over and over and over again repeatedly over time, yeah, sure, it becomes a habit. It's a thing that you choose over and over and over again, but in the sense of like constantly having to fight, it's again struggling against eternity. It's a man who has never permitted any rest. So heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. The right road's grown so heavy, and there's nothing left to mend. So again, the heroic life is heavy because it shoulders the weight of responsibility. I did just release a video on, I did just release a song myself on the Christian doctrine of theosis. And like, one of the things that inspired me in that particular song was C.S. Lewis's The Weight of Glory, right? The weight of the responsibility of, the men and women who are, who are themselves budding gods and goddesses. And there's nothing left to mend. So it's like, again, out of all of this destruction that comes behind, comes before, the story is not over. but there's nothing left to put together, right? And how could there be? You live for thousands of years, and yet no one else can share that time with you. So over time, no matter how many times you make friends and how many times you get married and how many times you have kids of your own, if you're the only one who lives for this span of time, then over time, there's nothing more you can put back together, because everything that is meaningful in many respects just leaves you. Except for one thing. There is one thing that is meaningful that will never leave you so long as you choose to keep it. And that is your own life. Your own life does not have any need to be justified. It is itself justification. It has its own inbuilt justification for being. The only person to whom you have to justify existing is yourself. And being itself is the root of goodness. So being is always intrinsically better than unbecoming, than unbeing. So life itself is always worth choosing. But that's not a problem that can be mended. So again, there's nothing left to mend.
One grey dawn off a nameless isle, the last great battle done. The tyrant's broken fleets in flame, the war at last was won. He stood amid the drifting smoke, sword red unto the hilt, and felt the centuries like lead, the endless blood he spilt.
Aha! Again, it's a man who fights an unending just war. So, one gray dawn off a nameless isle, the last great battle done. So again, we're sailing off, adventuring to lands hitherto unknown, right? Hitherto never named. And this is the setting of his final fight. The tyrant's broken, fleets in flames, the war at last was won. So this is presumably a just war, but a necessary war regardless. After all, because we didn't just overthrow the tyrants, we also removed the very instrument of their power and authority over the lands and the seas. He stood amid the drifting smoke, sword red until the hilt. So, we all know what that means, right? And felt the centuries like lead, the endless blood he spilt. So, this is not a psychopath, right? This does sound like a man who carries the weight of every life he has to take, because, again, he ultimately values human life, because there's only two ways you can really deal with infinite time. You can either deal it with the nihilistic way, where it's like nothing really seems to matter anymore, and in that case, you're not going to be a very well put together person, right? or you're going to believe that everything means something, and that all those little moments that are fleeting and ephemeral actually mean something. So, ironically, an immortal really has only two choices to make. They can either seclude themselves away from others, because all of their relationships that they will form are going to be meaningless. Like, what connection does someone have after 1,000 generations to their descendants? You wouldn't even know who those descendants are. They would literally bleed into the mass of people. So even blood ties don't really mean anything after that degree of time. So at that point, you can either just seclude yourself, isolate yourself from the rest of mankind, or you can decide to value the little time you have with others, knowing that it's little time you have with others. Now, it's kind of funny, because we see this exact lesson actually in the two elf anime that are out right now, Frieren and Dungeon Meshi. Marcel, absolute sweetheart, waifu material. A little bit cringe, but we're okay with cringe here, right? We're Pipkin Pippa fans. Yeah, that's one of the main dreads that Marcel has. She knows that she's going to live way longer than everyone she knows. And so time actually means something for her because it is, in a real sense, more fleeting to her than it is, for example, Chilchuck or Laios or Senshi. So, and in the case of like Frieren, her sense of time is completely warped, but she's not completely detached from people. But she has a hard time contextualizing how exactly time passes for others because she has only ever known how time passes for herself. So this leads to Frieren being isolated in many ways from the people around her, to the point where opportunities she would have taken with the people around her pass her by before she ever realizes that they were in threat of being lost in the first place. And I think here we're seeing kind of the effect of that exact thing. To a man who's lived from Carthage burning and Rome sailing the seas all the way to the Battle of Trafalgar, and again, what did we say, like 1803? That's well over 1,000 years of time. So yeah, no shit that would weigh on a man's soul, especially if he was constantly fighting like a war, a just war against tyranny, right? The endless blood he spilt. So even like life just seems to mean more to a person like this, in my opinion.
No more cheers to raise his glass, no more brothers at his side, no more right that needs his wrath, no more cause for which to die. He drove the cutlass through the deck, point first into the wood, unbuckled every bandolier, let every pistol fall.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's the end of that verse. Let's see. Was that not the end of the verse? Oh, that wasn't the end of the verse. There were two more.
Took the colors from the mast and wrapped them round his scars, then turned his back upon the war and all the bloody stars.
Okay, I think that is the end. Okay, so that was the bridge. So, no more cheers to raise his glass, because, yeah, there's no crew, because there's no need for the war. No more brothers at his side. No more right that needs his wrath. No more cause for which to die. This here makes me think that this really is more of a Jack Harkness situation, and that it's not that he can't die, it's that he will never stay dead so long as a particular condition is met. It's like a malevolent Gias that ends up creating a hero in this case. So yeah, when the war is finally done, there is no need to like keep the band together, because the band was together for the purposes of fighting the war, right? So there's no more brothers at his side. And really, how could there be? The thing that would have united him to his brothers would be the cause, because like, what does a man that old have in common with any mortal? No more rights that need his wrath. So that's the referring to the just cause of the just war. So just war theory has two, I would say three conditions. Traditionally speaking, there's just cause, so like the right reason to go to war, and then there's just means. So that's like the right method of conducting war. There's also and this is a rather new addition, but I think it's a necessary addition, the just end, or it's like the way in which you actually bring the war to a conclusion has to also be just. So there's no more cause for to die, and no right that needs his wrath. The right that needs his wrath is the just cause. There is no more cause for war, so there's no more cause for which to die. The fighting finally gets to stop. He drove his cutlass through the deck, point first into the wood. So you don't do that with a sword. This is like the common image of like the sword embedded into the ground. That was not a thing people really did for the most part, because it would actually damage the blade. Yeah, that's more of a fantasy thing than anything that actually happened in real life. Unbuckled every bandolier, let every pistol fall. So yeah, this is a complete disarmament. He's not just giving up his sword, which is, you know, the symbol of war itself. You know, say Islam is a religion of the sword, right? And you can say, like, you live by the sword, you know, violence, you die by the sword, violence. Unbuckled every bandolier and let every pistol fall. So that would be, depending on how it is, because obviously a pistol is a tool of war in this particular situation, but pistols are also the go-to for self-defense. Because obviously it's like you can actually holster a pistol and keep that private, whereas it's much harder to do that with, you know, a rifle. So he is laying down all of his arms, took the colors from the mast and wrapped them around his scars. So the the colors would be the flag in this case. And wait a minute. Hold on, no, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. He wrapped them around his scars. So he's not showing off his battle scars. He's actually concealing them with the colors, right? The flag, the mast, or not the mast, but the colors being, again, that which signifies what side you're on in a conflict. So. Oh, excuse me. Oh, that was nasty. Then turned his back upon the war and all the bloody stars. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think that one needs all that much explanation. We already talked about how he's laying down his arms. He's no longer fighting for any cause, because the cause he was fighting for has finally been established. So, and you turn your back on the stars because the stars are your tool of navigation. So this tells me that the adventure is over. There's no longer a point to wandering from place to place. So this is the time to settle down. Or at least that's what I get from this verse as of right now. So.
Heave no more, me hearties, heave no more, I'm done. The right road finally ended where the fighting could be none. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless walks a path no map can name. An old man now, though death won't come, and he is not the same.
Oh, that's a fucking great line and twist. Hold on. Hold the fuck on. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So we went from heave away me hearties, heave and never bend. So it's like struggle on, struggler, right? To heave no more me hearties, heave no more, I'm done. So again, there's no more reason, there's no more point to struggling on in this way anymore. The fighting is over. You can actually let go of the yoke that you've been strapped with here. You can go home. Because that's effectively what's going on here. You can go home. You can go to rest now. The right road finally ended where the fighting could be none. The reason there is no more just cause is because there is no more need to fight. This is a total victory. And it is satisfying the condition of just end of the just war theory, right? That it is not just a just means or a just cause, but there has to be a right way to end the fight. And here we have it now. The where the fighting could be none. Peace has actually been achieved. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless walks a path no map can name. An old man now, though death won't come, and he is not the same. So there's a lot that could be here. Because again, the entire story is struggle on, struggler for someone who's been struggling for literally thousands of years. So that's why I brought up the idea of like Skull Knight from Berserk, because Skull Knight is highly fucking implied to be such a struggler, right? So everyone can actually go home. Everyone can finally like take a breath. They can finally rest, knowing that they've actually won and that this victory is enduring, right? But Jack the Deathless, because he is deathless, walks a path no map can name. Because, again, who can tell you how to live for thousands of years. No one has ever experienced anything like that, right? There's no guide. He is the trailblazer into time immemorial. An old man now, though death won't come, and he is not the same. So while all of them get to rest, they get to rest in a way that that black-hearted Jack the Deathless can't. While they get to actually one day like rest and like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? I hate OBS. Hold on. So I'm gonna try this again because OBS is being a fucking bastard. Okay. And it's crashing. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, there we go. Alright. Let's see if this reloads. I'm gonna have to actually reload this page. Are you kidding me? Alright, anyway, so while that reloads, I can continue, I guess. Where the hell was I? Oh, yeah. So, Jack, like, black-hearted Jack the Deathless, he can't ever get that final rest. He will always have to, you know, endure and still walk a particular path that no map can name. And it cannot be named because it's a map that has no end. And he is not the same. So he can finally... He can't really rest the same way everyone else can, right? Because presumably he has seen things no other man has seen. He has experienced things no other man can experience. This man has lived lifetime upon lifetime. And... well, that's a fucking bastard. Okay. Alright. Are you kidding? I fucking hate this thing with a passion. I hate technology sometimes. It makes our lives better, but sometimes it just decides to not work. Anyway. Anyway, so I think I got there, right? I don't know if I finished my thought on that, but let's continue. I think we're on the last part of this, and then we can go back to listening to the whole thing at once.
And somewhere on a quiet shore beneath the wind-worn tree, an immortal pirate warrior finally learned to be free. Let the last note hang long on the wind.
Okay, so I think that last line is literally what happened in the song itself, right? So, I don't know shit about musicality. I pay attention to language and how language is used, right? So... oh my god, excuse me. So, last line, not spoken, not sung. And somewhere on a quiet shore, beneath the wind-worn tree, an immortal pilot warrior finally learned to be free. So again, he's free from the fighting, he's free from the oaths he took. But again, as I said, he still is never permitted the same kind of rest that everyone else has, but that also offers him an opportunity to be free in a way that no mortal has that option, right? Yeah, sure, I mentioned that thing earlier about, you know, the immortal life. But immortal life isn't necessarily a bad thing. I actually outlined how it could very well be a good thing, because it could teach you how, if you let it, to value the people around you more than you would otherwise, because you understand the transience of life, right? So he finally learned to be free. And also the thing of... I don't know who that is and why that popped up on my screen, but okay. But because now he has no longer the responsibility to look after, for example, the mortals underneath his care. You got to remember, took the wounds that should have killed 100 men like me. He no longer has to really stand up to defend the innocent anymore, because, again, gave his back to cannon mouths so children might be free. He no longer has to carry the responsibility of, you know, honoring the dead in the same way that he did to the widows and orphans we talked about earlier. So these are all heavy responsibilities that the black-hearted Jack the Deathless, which, by the way, is an ironic name because this does not sound like a black-hearted name, to be perfectly honest. Right? This sounds like a very good man, actually. Let the last note hang long on the wind. So again, this lyric will not complete because the very story of black-hearted Jack the Deathless will not complete. This is a story that isn't meant to be completed because it's the story of a man who will never die. Now, I find this a fascinating song, to be perfectly honest, and this is just my first pass at the lyrics. If I were to look at the lyrics longer, I could probably figure out more about it. But that's just, again, my first take on what is actually going on in the song from... you know what? Fair enough. I've done this before. Like, sometimes the thing is, like, the more details you give Grok, the more it'll come up with. Which is another reason why I think that, like, prompting is itself an art. Yeah, sure, there are times where it's like, oh, the lyrics may be completely generated by AI. It's like, yeah, but there is no mathematical universe wherein that machine would have come up with the song that it would have came out with if you gave it a random seed. Is there a random seed that would generate any combination of words and notes? Yeah, sure, why not? But that being said, the odds of it actually doing that from a random seed are infinitely smaller than from not doing, you know, than from a chosen seed, which is the whole point of a prompt. That's what a prompt is. You're choosing the seed. And yeah, if you're making a prompt that, you know, will generate a song that would only be chosen from generated from a intentional seed, then yeah, it is still art, even if people don't want to say it, right? If it has to be human decisions and human creativity that do it, that's still art, because it's still a wizard using words to form order out of formless chaos. So I really like this song. So before we go, let's listen to it one more time. Just this time, more or less uninterrupted. I don't think Keen Ian is gonna mind me doing this part, but if he does mind, he can let me know, and I'll just take this part out of the video.
Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried a righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain. He sailed when Rome still ruled the waves and Carthage burned to ash. Cut down tyrants by the score, left empires in the crash. No blade could keep him under, no grave could hold him long. He rose with every sunrise, still singing the same old song. Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried a righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain. 1,000 widows blessed his name, 1,000 orphans too. He stood alone on burning decks when every soul withdrew. Gave his back to cannon mouths so children might breathe free. Took the wounds that should have killed 100 men like me. He fought at Trafalgar's thunder in the ice of northern straits. Broke the chains in slaver ports, left tyrants to their fates. Every oath he ever swore he kept until the grave. Yet every friend he ever loved went down beneath the wave. Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. The right road's grown so heavy and there's nothing left to mend. One grey dawn off a nameless isle, the last great battle done. The tyrant's broken fleets in flame, the war at last was won. He stood amid the drifting smoke, sword red unto the hilt, and felt the centuries like lead, the endless blood he spilt. No more cheers to raise his glass, no more brothers at his side, no more right that needs his wrath, no more cause for which to die. He drove the cutlass through the deck, point first into the wood, unbuckled every bandolier, let every pistol fall. Took the colors from the mast and wrapped them round his scars, then turned his back upon the war and all the bloody stars. Heave no more, me hearties, heave no more, I'm done. The right road finally ended where the fighting could be none. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless walks a path no map can name. An old man now, though death won't come, and he is not the same. And somewhere on a quiet shore beneath a wind-worn tree, an immortal pirate warrior finally learned to be free. Let the last note hang long on the wind.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, there we go. I quite enjoy that. What the fuck is going on my recommendations? I just noticed that. Yeah, I really enjoy the song. I think after listening to it a second pass, I think my initial assessment of this is correct. I could probably, if I spent, like, if I sat down and really examined the lyrics, like, syntactically, and, like, each individual word, so, like, did a philological analysis, you'd probably get a lot more out of this. But that would take me, like, several hours to do, to be perfectly honest, because things like philology and all that stuff are really time-consuming. But I do think that this is a really good song. Again, I keep telling people, art is a concretization of a metaphysic. It's not a representation of reality. If a human being had written a song and art was a representation of reality, this would not be art, because it represents nothing in reality. In order for this to be art, it would have to be a concretization of a view of the life of man. And this here is a, again, view of a life of man as, again, something worth living, even if it's extremely difficult and, you know, extremely tiresome. It's still a life of decisions. I get from here, again, the idea that the life of man is not only worth living. I mean, why the hell would black-hearted Jack the Deathless, like, choose to live a life of virtue if he was given immortal life and to fight for those who need, you know, someone to defend them? And why would he honor the widows and the orphans if he didn't think human life was valuable and precious, right? So that is a benevolent view of the life of man, and it's a view of humankind in a ultimately benevolent universe. Not a universe that's painless or that has desires, but in a sense that a universe that is rational, understandable, that you can actually exist in and have free decisions in that are meaningful because the world operates under a set of principles. Hence, at the end, even though he is deathless and he can never have that end rest, he is still able to actually complete his vow. You know, he's able to uphold every oath until he dies, and he is able to finally see the great wars that he was fighting finally come to an end. So he can actually find, again, his rest in life. So, yeah, I would say that not only is, you know, obviously not only is art a concretization of a view of human life, I think this is a concretization of a very positive view of the life of man. one that's filled with hardship and difficulty, but is also still filled with goodness, and one worth fighting for, even in the other. So, yeah, that's my thought about Ballad, the Ballad of Jack the Deathless. So, y'all let me know what y'all think. I actually really, really like this song. This has definitely been added to my playlist. So I have still no idea how to end these videos. So I'm gonna continue streaming, and I'm gonna probably get a couple videos out of this particular stream, because I'm gonna mostly just be doing song analyses. But I think this video still lasted like 40 minutes, so I might not be getting as much as people think. So y'all take care till the next video, which may very well come out the same day as this, or maybe not. Who knows?